to Sew with Monty. Today we're going to do a fly zipper sample. And that's basically the type of zipper that you find on a pair of trousers or a pair of jeans. And we are doing it with a fly extension, which is right here. This is the part that goes underneath the zipper and against your body to protect you from the teeth of the zipper. This is the facing area that will go over the self, the front of the pant, and turn under and make the little horseshoe shaped stitching on the other side to hold the zipper. So what I've done, I've cut two samples of a front. So this would be the front rise in a pair of pants, just to show you the example. And then I've cut the fly facing, which will go against this side, the left side. We're making it on the left side because that's the most common way that a fly zipper is made, which is the man's standard left over right. But we're going to put the fly facing on this side. That's why it says right side up here, to make sure we don't cut it the wrong way. This governs which way the zipper goes in. If it's right side up this way, it's a left-handed zipper. If we turn it over, it would be a right-handed zipper. So you have to pay attention to how you cut the fly facing. That's the most integral part of positioning the zipper. Now, this is the front. So what I've done here, I went ahead and I've pressed the right side of the front under 1/4 inch here. And I'll show you why we did that in just a moment. This is the extension, and I've already pressed on a fold. It was cut, placed on the fold, and I've pressed it here on this fold. So let's go to the sewing machine, and I'll show you how to start assembling this. So the first part of this zipper is we're going to sew the zipper to the fly extension and the fly extension to the right side of our front here. I went ahead and clean finished the bottom of the fly extension. I sewed a 1/2 inch seam, turned it up under there so it's nice and clean, and then I finished the edges off. I've used a serger. If you don't have a serger, use one of your finished stitches over here, like your blanket stitch or a large zigzag, to finish all your raw edges. This area right here I have not finished off because it's going to get sandwiched in between the fly extension and the folded top edge. So I haven't really put anything here. It's not really that necessary. So the first part of this, we're going to take our zipper and we're going to pin it to the edge of our fly extension, just like this, so that we have the edge of the zipper along the edge, the finished edge of our fly extension. I want to leave a 1/2 inch margin above the teeth right here, so that whatever seam allowance would go up there, like a waistband or a facing, there'll be room to accommodate that. So I'm just putting the pins in here first. Now, when you do this, you have the option of sewing this on the fly extension first and then to the front afterwards, or you can sandwich it all together and sew it at one time, like this. I would suggest, if you've never made one of these, do it in 2 steps. Do this first and then do the front to it. It'll be a little easier to handle. Once you've done it a few times, then you can go back and put them all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is just put this in here. I'm going to come just below my zipper foot because I'll have to come back and close that up. I mean my zipper pull when I'm finished sewing. So I'm going to just pull the first pin out and lift that up there. And I'm going to sew close to the teeth. And I'm just going to sew right down through here with a little bit of a back stitch to start, just to lock it. And then when I'm finished on this side, I'll come back and unzip it and finish the top. Now I'm going to stop right where the stop on the zipper is, right here, and I'll back stitch there as well. Don't get too close to your teeth or you won't be able to open the zipper. Stay about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch away so that the zipper pull has room to pass by the stitch. So I'm down here now. I'm just going to back up a little bit like that, and then I'm going to pull it out and cut the threads and come back up here at the top where I couldn't get near the zipper because of the zipper pull. I'm going to unzip it like this, and then I'm going to sew this up to the top of my zipper where the little stop is on my zipper. So I'm going to put a pin in here, and I'm going to go back up and align with the top of the zipper. You can go all the way to the top if you like. That way it's not loose when you do your seam, either your waistband or your facing. So I'm just going to start off here, lock that stitch, and then come on down close to my teeth. Got an 1/8 of an inch inch away, 1/16 of an inch away. We want to make it comfortable enough that the pull can pass by the teeth where the seam is. Oh, let me go back just a little bit there. Okay, now that side's set. So we're going to just pull the thread out, trim all the threads away. Now, because the zipper's set over here, I don't have to worry about it getting away from me when I sew the right front to it. So now I can take this and I put it right on top, aligning my top fly extension with the top edge of my pant, if this were a real pant, and I'm going to pin it down and I'm going to sew again right across through here. Now I'm going to go ahead and zip it up so that I can I'll go below and then come back and sew the top like I did before. So I'm going to go just below the zipper pull right here and start, and then I'm going to stop again at the zipper stop at the bottom. So I'm going to get this pinned in here. See, just like that. And then when I get down to the bottom here, see how it's open? We're not going to sew all the way through. We're going to stop right there again, right where the zipper stop is. So it's all pinned in. Pins are parallel to the seam. And I'm going to start just below here where I can get in there, sew down through here, and then come back and do the same thing. Get it out from under the machine, pull the zipper pull down, and sew the rest up. Now, we're only a 1/4 inch turn under here. Remember that. Don't turn this back a full seam allowance. And I'll show you why when we finish sewing this. It's very important that you don't do that. So I'm going to get in here just below my zipper pull where it's comfortable, and it will sit back down on the fabric. And I'm just going to sew about 1/16 of an inch, eighth of an inch away from the edge. So I'm just going to go a few stitches, back up a few stitches, and then just go on down through here. So here we go. And once we have this side sewn on, we'll take you to the next step. It's almost to the bottom. And right here we're going to back up. There we go. Now we don't want to sew below the zipper stop because we need all this free down here, so when we sew up the rise, it's not committed to the zipper fly extension, and we can't get in there to sew up the actual rise. So you don't want to sew all the way through, or you're going to have difficulty sewing your rise. Now I'm going to unzip it and I'm going to finish this top zipper off. Once you've done a few of these, it's actually really fun, and the look is really nice. It's such a nice finish to a garment to have this type of zipper in the front. There we go, and then we just back up a little bit, and this side is set. And last string trimmed. Now, this side is set. This is the fly extension side. And see how nice that looks? And now we're going to go ahead and go over, and I'm going to show you how to do the fly facing. Now I've attached the fly facing to the left side of my pant with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now if you're using a pattern, you may have 5/8 inch seam allowance. For these little samples, we're using a 1/2. And I've sewn through the edge of my facing and stopped right here. Back stitch, and then I've pressed the facing toward the seam allowance so that it's nice and flat. The last thing I'm going to do is an understitch on this facing side, so I'm going to just go along the facing right here and do a little stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the seam. And I'm using this 3 stitch length. I'm going to back up at the beginning, and I'm going to come all the way through. This will help this stay back underneath, and it won't let the facing show when you're wearing it, so we don't want it to peek out. So we're just going to go right to the end, do a little back up, and that part's taken care of. Now it's time to look at the two sides and put them together, because we have the left side with the facing on it and the right side with the zipper. Now we need to connect the two. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this seam that you just made where the facing is, and you're going to roll it back under like this and pin it. So I'm going to pin it down here right along this edge where I've understitched. And you'll note when you understitch this little edge, it's going to make it roll under there so nicely and stay put. It really adds a lot. Plus it gives it a little body so it's not wimpy over here. Now if you're using a lighter weight fabric, you may want to put a little interfacing in this fly facing just to give it some body. So you have to kind of decide. If you're using denim, you probably don't need that, but if it's a lighter weight fabric, you may need a little interfacing. So now we have our two sides, and now we want to pin them together. So we're going to take this side right here, and we're going to overlap it so that this is only turned back 1/4 inch. We're going to overlap it 1/4 inch. So we're going to do this side, lining it up, and I'm going to pin this edge. This is really fun. This is a fun zipper to make. I'm just going to say that because when you see what you do and how easy it is to really do it, it's only about 3 or 4 stitches or seams, and then you have this really cool fly zipper, and it makes such a difference. Now after you pin this, you want to make sure that you're 1/4 inch over your stitch. So after you get it pinned right along the edge like that and just straighten it out nice and tight, just peek under there and make sure that you're 1/4 inch under. So just roll it back, see, and make sure that this is 1/4 inch there, which it looks like we're in good shape. So now we're going to take it like this. See, we pin the top edge here. Then we're going to flip it over, get the fly extension out of the way, like just peel it out of the way, and now you can see your zipper. We're going to peel the fly extension out of the way, and we're going to peel back the left side of your pants. See? And all I have now is the fly facing and the zipper together. And I'm going to sew right down through here with my zipper foot, very similar to how I did it on the other side, except I'm working on the back side of my zipper this time. I want to get everything out of my way. I don't want to catch anything but the facing and the zipper. So all things underneath here need to be turned out of the way, including my seam allowance. So I'm going to pin so I don't get anything caught in here but my seam allowance, my fly facing and my zipper. So pinning is a trick here. You just want to get everything out of the way. And then we're going to put our zipper foot back on, and we're going to sew right down through here. Now remember, I can't get too close to this little tab, so I'm going to start about here, sew down, come back, unzip the zipper, and finish it off. So let's change feet, and put on the zipper foot, and then we're ready to sew. So we're going to center it, we're going to put it on a 3, and I'm going to put my zipper foot so that it's open to the inside here. So let me just find the clip, there we go. And I'm going to line it up as close to the tab, the zipper pull as I can get, and about 1/8 of an inch away from my teeth. See? And I'm going to sew right down through here. So let's get started. We're going to go forward a little bit, and then we're going to go back a little bit. It's going to keep us about 1/8 of an inch away from our teeth. Everything's out of the way. Double check that. And then just sew down through here. Stand about 1/8 of an inch away from the teeth of your zipper. And we're going to stop right where the zipper stop is. That's as far as we need to go. So we're going to go down through here. And when we get to the zipper stop, making sure everything's out of the way, all we want is the facing and the zipper in here. And we just stop right there. Back up. And then we'll take it out and trim the strings, and we'll go up and get the top where the zipper pull is. So all strings are trimmed. It's a good idea to trim as you go, that way you don't have any surprise strings later when you're looking at the finished garment. Now I have to take a couple pins out here so I can actually unzip this, so I'm going to go back over here and just release the top of this. It should be okay now because it's held well everywhere else. And all I want to do is finish this off right here. So I'm just going to put another pin in here, and I'm going to go in here and sew the top part of my zipper to my fly facing. So right here, I'm going to start at the top edge and just go a few stitches and then go back a few stitches and then go forward and pass over where I stopped. So right here, I'm going to line it up there and back up a little bit, and this side is set. Now, we're going to talk about the last step. The last 2 steps. There's 2 more steps. So basically there's about 6 seams in this whole entire process, which isn't bad for the look of what you get when you're done. So I'm going to zip the zipper back up, And I'm going to replace the pins on this side because I want it to stay put while I do this next step. So I'm going to put my pins in here. And now what I want to do is flip the fly extension out of the way, turn it back like this, and we're going to top stitch the actual facing to the front of the pan. Okay, but before we do that, we have one more step I need to do. I need to sew up the rise because we don't want a hole in the bottom of our pan. And now it's time to do that. And the beauty of this is, so you can see where you stopped. So we're just going to go along here and we're going to just lock stitch into there and stop. Now, you may want to change your foot back to your regular foot to do this. If you feel like that's necessary, by all means do it. But if you think you can do it without that, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to take a couple of these pins out so I don't accidentally go over them with my needle and break my needle. So what I'm doing is I'm sewing the front rise up right through here, right through there until I get to this stitch right here. So what I'm going to do is pin over here so I can see where that stitch is. It's right there, right at the base of my, that's it, right there at the base of my fly extension. Put a little pin right there so you know where to go to. We're going to stop right where that zipper is. And then we're just going to sew this hole up before we do our facing. And I'm going to use a 1/2 inch stitch allowance here. Let's see if this will do it with the zipper foot. If not, we'll switch feet. So we go in a little bit, we're going to lock stitch it, and then we're going to keep a 1/2 inch seam allowance and we're going to roll right on down through here until we get to the bottom of that stitch where that pin is. And when I get close to the pin, I'm just going to stop, reach under here and take the pin out. Wherever the pin is, there we go. Take the pin out and then carry on until I get right to the base of the zipper. And when I've reached that point, making sure everything stays flat under there, I'm just going to back up, and that way I won't have a hole in my pant. And trim the strings. Now, let's go back and talk about that fly facing. So now, see, the rise is sewn up all the way. I've got a little extra serge stitch in there. We can just trim that off. And then we're going to sew our fly. So let me get this trimmed off here. And there we go. Now we're going to sew our fly facing down over here. You want to make sure you keep your extension out of the way. Now you may want to sew it, if your machine has good tension on it, you may want to sew it on this side so you can see what you're doing and you make sure you catch your fly facing. So what we'll do, we're going to go in here and I'm going to move my foot over to the other side because I want to sew on this side now. And I'm just going to change my stitch to 0 and keep a 3 stitch length, and I'm going to go right at the base of my zipper, and then I'm going to follow the facing around through here and sew on there. Now you may want to pin that as you go. Don't catch your fly extension, just get right below the zipper there, and when you get it in position, just take your pin out and you're going to just go slow here. Don't go too fast. It's not a fast thing. And just back up a little bit to anchor it, and then come all the way around nice and slow around the zipper shape. Now this is going to shape that horseshoe, that half horseshoe on the front of your pan. So you want to make it nice and clean. If you need to pan it before you start sewing, by all means pan it. And just come all the way up through here, making sure you catch the fly facing. And then when you get to the top, just back up a little bit. And there's your stitch. Now I've got a light blue on here so you can't see it as well. But that's your single stitch. Now, if you want to double stitch it, let me trim my strings here. You could come back on this side and run another stitch right next to it with the double. Just make sure when you get to the bottom of the zipper you go very, very slow because you'll be sewing over the bottom of the zipper. I'm just going to leave a single stitch on this one since it's just a sample. And let me show you how it operates here. It needs a little pressing. Let me trim all my strings off and put my fly extension back in its place. Now if you want, you can come back here and you can do a little tack on it. You can tack it here and you can tack it here. That way it keeps the fly extension down, doesn't let it roll back. And you would just do a little zigzag stitch here and a little zigzag stitch here to hold that down. But see, that's your fly now. It's all stitched down and you've got it both ways. And that's a fly zipper.